Merry Christmas, hockey fans, and welcome back down to Ice Level. As always, I am your host, James Blennau, and this week is a very special episode. We have a little interview with the NHL Network's Hradek, who will be covering the upcoming World Junior Championship Tournament in Minnesota. It's going to be an exciting time in the state of hockey, so let's get right into the interview. All right, hockey fans, we have the NHL Network's Hradek joining us today to talk about the World Junior Championships over in Minnesota. We got Mariucci Arena for the smaller venue, and we've got the, I believe, Grand Casino Arena
Yeah, I
in
think it's the
St. Paul.
Grand Casino Arena now. It
Used
was
to
the
be the
XL.
XL Energy
Yes, it
Center.
was. Yes, it was. And now it's the, I have to get used to the change of name, which happens all the time now in pro sports, depending upon who's
Yeah,
paying for
definitely.
that sponsorship. So, yes, we'll get used to that, but
But
should be good. So, looking forward to it. Great
one
team,
thing
the
we
U.S. soil.
definitely,
Awesome.
one thing we don't have to One thing we definitely don't have to look out for changing is the atmosphere in this state of hockey. What are you expecting
No.
from that this year?
Well, I think everybody will be pumped. It's a great tournament. Minnesota it is. I mean, you think about the number of great players, hockey players that have come out of the state of Minnesota over the years, the way that they treat hockey. I think it's a little different than the way that hockey gets treated in other parts of the country. I mean, it is there's a little bit of a sacredness, I think, to it. I think that they hold their high school hockey programs in a really special place. And I think that's part of the development program that's worked so well. That model has worked so well for them. And, you see it with players that, want to stay extra time and finish and with their high school teammates and guys they've grown up and developed with over the years. And so it's a little bit different, but it's a great environment. And by the way, I think it's a little different. I think it's probably the way it should be everywhere. But it's a great environment. People be stoked, and Team USA has a chance to do something really interesting, right? They've won back-to-back gold medals. It will be a challenge. Certainly, it's hard to win once. It's harder to win twice. It's really hard to win three times. I know that Team Sweden, Team Canada are loaded this year, particularly the Canadians. Their roster is terrific. Team USA took a little bit of a hit with Trevor Connolly getting injured in a pre-tournament game, so he'll miss the. He's one of the nine returners, so now it's down to eight. So you miss that kind of experience and that kind of skill, but it should be a hell of a tournament, and I would imagine Team USA will be right in the mix.
Yeah, you talk about Team Sweden being up in the mix. They have a lot of pressure on them to win the gold this year, but how would you describe what that team's going through right now?
Well, I mean, I think that the Swedes have had good teams for years and haven't been able to finish, right? So I just think these are young people. It's a young, it's no matter what the circumstance, it's a difficult thing to do and to win. It's a short tournament. I think people don't really fully grasp that, like that it goes by extremely quickly. One bad night, one bad game, somebody gets injured. I just mentioned with Connolly, someone gets ill. There's things that happen within a group, and that are not timely circumstances. I know right now, just reading up not that it's happening there in Minnesota right now, but like, the flu is kind of hitting here in the United States. So hopefully everybody's going to be able to stay healthy and be well during that time. So there's a lot of different things that go on as the tournament unfolds. So, I think all the teams, they all have different aspirations and different expectations. Some have gold medal expectations like Canada, the US, Sweden, Finland, Czechia, Slovakia. And then there's other countries that are just happy to really have a good showing and to maintain a place in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. And with the guys that come out, there's also the guys that break out. Who do you see becoming a breakout star at this year's tournament?
Well, I'm really, really excited to see Gavin McKenna at the tournament just because there's been, listen, he has been in the spotlight. He's one of those kids. He's like Celebrini. He's like, the Crosby before him over the many years, right? There are these guys at McDavid's that, they gain a lot of notoriety at 15, some cases 14. and they get on the radar early. And I know the first time I saw Gavin McKenna play was as part of Team Canada at the U18s a couple years ago. He was only 16. I think he might have only been 15 at the time. I'm not 100% sure, but I was just he was dazzling for someone that young to be that good. And so as time goes on with those players, they gain a lot of attention. They are scrutinized, 6 ways to Sunday. And in his case, it's really unique because he's attending Penn State University now. He's doing something that, excuse me, you wouldn't have seen in the past. A player that played in the Western Hockey League in the Canadian Junior was not eligible to play in the NCAA, and that has changed now. So he's taken advantage of that. He's going to a place at Penn State, like a lot of the NCAA schools. They have tremendous resources. They have tremendous facilities. He is playing against, an older group of players right now. I mean, it would have been easy to stay in the Western Hockey League for Gavin McKenna and put up 200 points, and nobody would have said anything. He would have been number one overall pick, and that would have been the end of that. He's gone to Penn State. It's more of a challenge. He's trying to develop there. He's trying to develop his body. He's trying to develop as a person and a player. And so he's taken some criticism. I don't know if it's criticism really, but it's, when people put out their lists and, I don't know all the different guys who do these lists. I don't know what their backgrounds are. I don't know how many games they see. And, all of a sudden, instead of being number one, he's number two. Or instead of number one, he's number three or number four, which I kind of listen. I haven't seen everybody play either, and I don't ever come on and tell everybody that I have. What I have seen is that that Gavin McKenna was an amazing player. I saw his first game this year against Arizona State. I thought he played very well under those circumstances. As somebody who's a 17-year-old kid playing against 22, 23-year-old older guys who are much more mature in a different environment, in a different circumstance. So I'll be curious to see Gavin back in his peer group here and to see how he plays. And, he is really well supported because that Canadian roster, wow, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. It's a super deep roster. Do you see anybody on that roster who might see a serious rise in their draft stock after this tournament?
Well, there's not as many draft eligibles, right? I mean, McKenna is certainly one. I think, Sweden with Stenbar is somebody that we're going to watch and, see where he goes. Keaton Verhoff on defense for Canada is another guy that a lot of people like. Some people have him as a number one. I watched him at the U18s last year. I thought he played well, but he didn't, it's an unsexy uh pick when you think about a big right shot defenseman. I think that Keaton Verhoff is one of those guys that can play in the National Hockey League for, probably play in the league for 15 years. The question is, where is he as a right shot defenseman? Is he an Aaron Ekblad type? Is he an Alex Petrangelo type? Is he that high on the list? Or is he someone that's just will be a good solid right shot defenseman at the National Hockey League level over many years? That's for the scouts to try to look and determine. I didn't see him as, at that level of the Petrangelos and Ekblads, but well, I'll get another chance to see him. And, that's what I would just impart to people watching the tournament, especially for the underagers, for those who are going to be draft eligibles, like McKenna, like Verhoff, like Sternberg, is that this is a 19-year-old tournament. It's an under 20 tournament. So it's for the 19-year-old. Those are the people, those are the guys who are supposed to thrive and be successful. Yes, underagers can do that, and we take note of that. So you have to keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that this is just a snapshot. Scouts are following these guys throughout the season. And this is a small window. And I know that like David Pastrnak, if you go back, he was drafted 25th, I believe, in his draft year. And during, his draft year, he had mono. And so there were mitigating circumstances to his play during his draft year. And so his stock fell a little bit. If things had been different, and Pastrnak had been completely healthy and playing at his highest level, he might have been, first, second, third pick in the draft, right? So it's always good to keep in mind that this is just a snapshot. There are a lot of things that are going on around all these players all the time. Are they at their best in that particular moment? For the scouts who do it for the National Hockey League, they're watching the good ones are keeping in mind where someone was earlier, where they are in this particular moment, where they are later in the year, and trying to add all those pieces together as they get closer to the NHL draft.
Yeah, a lot of fans, especially in my home here on Long Island, remember the conversations around Matthew Schaefer because he only played
Yeah,
around 18 games in
that's
his
right.
draft year. And a lot of people are saying now if he played a full season, there wouldn't have really been a conversation between him and Misa for number one overall. So definitely a great
Yeah,
point there.
I think you're probably right about that, because we would have had a longer look at Schaefer. I would tell you, like, I that guy just blows me away because first of all, he's got a magnetic personality. He's a terrific person, and most people know his story and the tragic story of his mom passing away. And like, he seems to be wise beyond his years, and he seems to be, like I said, a magnetic type of young man. And I was concerned, quite frankly, for him to come out having played only, I think it was 17 games last year, and barely, he just turned 18 in September. The National Hockey League is a league, when you come into it, you want to come into it being ready to thrive and not just survive. And I felt he would be a good candidate to go play college hockey, having that transition year. But boy, oh boy, all I can do is shake my head because he has been, I mean, he's in consideration for the Canadian Olympic team at the highest level. That's how good he's played. So it is interesting to see how it plays out. But to your point, things happen in a draft year, and Matthew Schaefer playing only 17 games, getting injured, that was something that people considered. But at the end of the day, when he was drafted, right? The Islanders were very firm in that number one selection, and I think most of the scouts were firm in the belief that he was the number one pick.
Yeah, definitely. And changing gears here, Bob Motzko takes over this U.S. team for the first time since the mid 2010s. He won gold with them before,
Yeah.
but after 2 years of David Carl, it's a bit of a switch, and now he is coming back to his home state and his home arena, the
Yeah.
3M Arena in Mariucci. But what do you see different in his coaching style than David Carl's?
Well, I mean, everybody brings a different approach. I mean, the good news is that Bob has coached in this tournament and he's won in this tournament, right? So it's not anything new for him. David Carl does it his way. You got to remember, a lot of the support staff is the same. Steve Miller is one of the assistant coaches. He's been the assistant coach he's been a constant through a lot of the different Team USA teams over the many years of the World Juniors. So there's a lot of stuff that remains a constant. Remember, a lot of these kids go through the National Team Development Program. That is something that they lean on. They have a way that Team USA wants to play, and Bob is familiar with that. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but the players are different, right? So I mean, yeah, 8 of them now, with the exclusion of Connolly, who got hurt, will have experienced what David Carl was able to do last year behind the bench. But the rest of them, it's new to them. And Bob is a very, very competent coach who's coached some of those kids in college. And like I said, he's won the tournament. So, we'll see. We'll see how they approach things. I think they'll approach the round robin this way. The schedule breaks down: Germany and Switzerland to start back to back. Those are games you're supposed to win. He'll get a look at his team and what he likes, what he doesn't like. Start to try to tinker with their special teams, and then they got Slovakia, and then they play Sweden. So if they do what they're supposed to do and win the first 3 games, the Swedish game on New Year's Eve will be critical for the crossover play. If they can beat Sweden in that game, they'll likely be able to put off playing Canada if they were able to advance until the gold medal game, which probably is the best path to victory.
Yeah, we did our predicted brackets a little bit earlier. Both me and Josh Boyd had the U.S. versus Sweden in the final, but we'll see how it ends up going because, as we all know, tournament hockey is completely
Yeah,
unpredictable.
very, very unpredictable. It's like I said, I think, to me, the 3 teams, U.S., Sweden, and Canada, are the teams. And I think Canada, again, Canada's roster, to me, they bring back 3 goalies who I think all were part of their team last year. Carter George, I believe, is playing in his third World Junior, and he was really good for Canada, winning the U18s a couple years back in that tournament I mentioned, where Gavin McKenna first kind of popped for me. So To me, they're the favorite based on what I've seen. I think the Swedes are very good, and I just think it's very hard for Team USA to come back and win 3 years in a row. It's very tough, and especially because their goaltending situation, they have untested guys in this tournament at that level. In fact, they're tinkering with the idea of Noling, who is a 2-year underager. I believe he's in '08. Like he could end up playing some in this tournament. So that's really the key for me with Team USA. I like a lot of their pieces, but they have inexperienced goaltending. And if one of those goaltenders pops and plays well, they got a chance to make it three in a row. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. EJ, thanks so much for coming out. You can watch him every Team USA game during the World Junior Championship beginning Friday, December 26th on NHL Network. And we will see you around in the post-tournament coverage on Ice Level.